How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. My name's Dylan, and today we're going to be saying F you to our friends by going full-on Karametra Hatebear. Karametra is a 6/7 god with Indestructible who says whenever you cast a creature spell, search your library for a forest or a plains card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Karametra caters to creature-based decks and ramps like crazy. Before we get into everything real quick, I just wanted to say we have a Discord server, and if you haven't already, please consider stopping by. We also have a TCG player affiliate link where you can buy the deck down below or just some singles for your collection. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it really helps a lot if you choose to. With that said, let's get into it. For starters, let's get into rocks and ramp from sources other than Karametra herself. There are 8 mana rocks in the deck, being Soul Ring and Talisman, Arcane Signet, Coalition Relic, Marble, and Moss Diamond, Everflowing Chalice, then Talisman of Unity. We're also running Avacyn's Pilgrim, Circle of Dreams Druid, Cultivate, and to double up our mana as well as beef up our creatures, Mirari's Wake. Hey, speaking of double mana and buffing up our creatures, Vorinclex and Elesh Norn are great includes for our deck's theme. With these cards in mind, they are nothing compared to this being the best deck when utilizing Karametra's ability, that card being Amulet of Vigor. Karametra brings us lands for casting spells and is great and all, but the fact that the lands come in tapped is not. But for those lands to come in untapped is straight value that leads to even more explosive turns. Up next, we're going to make our opponents pay their taxes. Esper Sentinel is a heuristic study that lets us draw a card if our opponents decide not to give the devil his due. Vryn Wingmare and Thalia make non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Magus of the Tabernacle has the same effect of a $1,000 card, making all creatures have an upkeep cost of 1. Kataki does the same with artifacts. Spell-Tithe Enforcer says F you to storm decks by making opponents pay 1 or more to sacrifice a permanent. Leonin Arbiter shuts down any search your library effects. Windborn Muse is a ghostly prison on a creature. And finally, Wandering Archaic lets us copy instants and sorcery spells our opponents cast unless they pay the 2. Mana be burned. Next, let's talk about what our opponents can do and how they actually can't. DylanCEdh, Void Winnower, Yasharn, and Angel of Jubilation, as well as Brizella. Yeah, I'm a horrible person. DylanCEdh makes non-creature spells with mana value 4 or greater unable to cast. Void Winnower does the same for our opponents for spells with even mana value, so 2, 4, 6, etc. can't be cast nor even used as blockers. This effect gets around token decks, which are great for utilizing chump blockers. Not anymore though. Yasharn and Angel of Jubilation say our opponents can't pay life or sacrifice creatures to cast spell, and Brizella says our opponents can't cast spells with mana value 3 or less. Up next, we got Collector Oof, Draenith Magistrate, and Aven Mindcensor. Collector Oof shuts down artifacts, Draenith Magistrate is notorious for making commanders uncastable, and Aven Mindcensor limits our opponents to searching libraries to the top 4. Then Aura Shards lets us destroy an artifact or enchantment whenever a creature enters the battlefield on our side. Finally, let's get into how we keep our hand loaded. Beast Whisperer, Toski, Mind's Eye, Crafter's Bestiary, Harmonize, and Sylvan Library each provide us with some ways to keep our hands thick with 2 C's. Beast Whisperer lets us draw a card when we cast a creature spell. Toski draws us a card for each creature that deals combat damage to a player. Mind's Eye lets us draw with an opponent for 1 mana. The Bestiary lets us scry at the beginning of our upkeep and pay a green mana to draw a card whenever we cast a creature spell. Harmonize is a green staple that lets us draw 3 cards, and finally Sylvan Library lets us draw an additional 2 cards in exchange for 4 life each at the beginning of our draw step. With all that said, let's assess the power level of this deck. Real quick, I will be getting a bit more strict with the grading to keep us from always saying it's a 7. There's one thing this deck lacks massively, and that's card draw, which given the amount of ramp in the deck leads me to believe there's going to be plenty of times where we're in top deck mode. With that, let's dock 2 or maybe even 3 points. Card draw wins games. Without it, we're pretty vulnerable. The deck also lacks removal and or interaction, with there only being 3 pieces in the deck. Let's dock 3 more. No draw and very little removal is a dangerous game we play. There are only 3 tutors I can think of, so let's dock another one. And again, given the speed of the deck, that's another point. If you've been keeping track, we're at 3 or maybe 2 where you stand. Now for the saving grace. There are a lot of taxing effects in this deck. By my count, there are a total of 9 taxing cards. Our opponents can either spend mana to prevent us from getting some advantage, whether it be in the form of card draw with Esper Sentinel or paying an additional 1 for non-creature spells with cards like Thalia. With that, let's add a point. There are 3 ways to cheat out creatures, one of which picks up 2 and grabs us our Bruna Gisela combo, Void Winnower and DylanCEdh, Vorinclex and Elesh Norn, any combination of whatever creatures we want. Brutal effect. Defense of the Heart is disgusting. This earns 2. Lastly, there are a lot of deck types we shut down. Example, Hushbringer stops any ETB effect, like Yara, as well as any death triggers. So any aristocrat strategy like Teysa Karlov is gone. Void Winter will lock some players out of the game, especially if someone's running a Gyruda as a companion. That's scoop-worthy. Linvala ends any deck that relies on activated abilities such as Krenko, Emery, even Kenrith and Najeela, two of the best competitive commanders as of writing. Oh, and we can't forget about the almighty Urza. This earns us 3. Now, if you've been keeping track, that puts us at 8. There's also the possibility of 9, but it's not there. This is a stacks deck. It's already a pain in the neck to go up against. I left out cards that probably should be in here, like Spirit of the Labyrinth or Archon of Emeria. It's not a competitive deck, again, it's also not completely tuned. It's just the kind of deck you only play one time a night. With that, I'm going to call it here. Thank you all for watching, and if you made it this far, you are truly awesome. If you're new here and you liked what you saw, maybe consider subscribing. A like and a comment would also be appreciated. They appeal to the YouTube gods. Also, if you're still here, let me know in the Discord server. If you haven't already, we got a link in the description. And if it's something that interests you, we got a TCG player affiliate link down below. If you want to check it out, it means a lot. If you don't though, it's completely fine. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.